Hi TNDG, and welcome to this presentation on essay writing. Before you can write an essay, it is really important that you understand the essay question. It's impossible to write a good essay unless you actually understand the essay question clearly. So to do that, read the question several times first, highlight or circle the key ideas in the question. They're the words that pop out and tell you what you need to do, what you need to write, and how you need to write about it. Once you have circled all the keywords, brainstorm all the ideas that you have about those keywords in the text that you are using as an example. Once you've done that, you'll use the keywords from the essay question and your ideas to write a one-sentence answer to the essay question. This is called a thesis statement. You will use the keywords thesis statement when you write the introduction to your essay. Essays are structured with an introduction, at least 3 body paragraphs, and a conclusion. It is a relatively simple structure, but it is important that you present your essay in this way because that's how you can best argue your answer to the essay question. To help you structure your essay properly, BC use the TACO, Texas and LATE acronyms to help you structure your introduction, your body paragraphs and your conclusion. TACO is the acronym for the introduction, Texas for the body paragraphs and LATE for the conclusion. So your paragraph essay structure will look like this. You will have 1 TACO, 3 Texases and 1 LATE. The TACO introduction is an acronym to help you to remember to include the information that must be included in your introduction. You must have the title of the text, which must be underlined. And your text can be a novel, a poem, a short story, a short film, or a film. It must have the author of the text, or if it's a film, the name of the director. You must include keywords from the question and an outline from the main points. It is likely that these things will be shown in your thesis statement. I've given you an example here of a TACO introduction in response to the essay question. Describe how language features are used by an author to explain an important idea. So if we have to circle the key words in this question, it would be describe, language features, and important idea. This example is written by a student about the poem Hope is the Thing with Feathers. So the student has written, in the poem Hope is the Thing with Feathers, Emily Dickinson uses language features to explain the idea of hope, helping to keep people going and not give up when life is very difficult. 3 language features that Dickinson uses to explain this idea are metaphor, alliteration and rhyme. So from our question, we can see that the student has used the words language features, which was one of the key words, and an idea, so that relates to our important idea, and describe. She is describing what the language features are. The describe will come into more detail as we move into our body paragraphs. We use the acronym Texas to help structure body paragraphs to make sure that you are arguing your main point clearly, so that you provide evidence and analysis of that evidence. The topic sentence provides the main idea or point that you want to argue in this paragraph as simply and clearly as possible. Remember, 1 paragraph equals 1 idea. For every other idea you have, you need another paragraph but at this stage you need at least 3. Once you have a topic sentence, you go on to explain what that topic sentence means. So you're giving some further detail and elaboration about the topic sentence. You're looking to explain a key word from the topic sentence. You can have more than one sentence to explain the topic sentence and elaborate on it. The next part of our paragraph is the example, which is your evidence. So you're giving an example from the text to show what you're saying in your topic sentence is true. The last part of your paragraph is and shows, the AS part of Texas. This is where you show what the example means. It shows that you understand exactly what you're talking about and why your example is an example of the point that you're making in the topic sentence. The and shows is sometimes what I call the so what question. So what are you telling me this for? So what is it important? What is important about this? You'll have 3 Texas body paragraphs in your essays this year. Here's an example of a topic sentence using our example from before. In Hope is the Thing with Feathers, Dickinson uses metaphor to help explain the important idea that hope is what helps people keep going when things are difficult and they don't really know what to do. So the main idea of this paragraph is that Dickinson uses a metaphor to explain an important idea. And that important idea is that same important idea that we talked about in our introduction, that hope is what helps people keep going when things are difficult. Our second sentence of the Texas body paragraph for our example is the explanation and elaboration. That's the E. In this example, there's only one sentence, but as I said earlier, you can have more than one. Our example, she uses a bird flying through a terrible storm and not giving up as a metaphor for people continuing to have hope in tough times. It very simply explains and elaborates on that topic sentence. The X, or example and evidence part of our paragraph, is shown, the sentence that's used here is, this is shown in the stanza, hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without words and never stops at all, which suggests that the thing is a bird. So this is a direct quote from the text, which is the poem, This is the Thing with Feathers. The only part that isn't part of a direct quote is this part is the end, and that this is shown in the stanza. But this is called quote weaving, that our quote is introduced into a sentence and ends as part of a sentence. That is a much more we would prefer that you weave your quotes into a sentence and don't just have a quote sitting in the middle of a paragraph. It's not part of anything. The final part of our body paragraph is the end shows. This breaks down the example into parts, explains its relevance to the topic, shows us what the consequences of this are, what's the main idea that it made you think about, what ideas or issues does this raise. These are all good ways to think about the end shows. One good way to begin this part is this shows that, and then you would put what it showed, and because, and you would show why it shows that. Or another way is, from this the reader can understand that, whatever the idea is, because and why it shows that. Our example here is the words feathers, perches and sings all show that this is a bird. This metaphor helps the reader create a picture of hope as a bird in their mind, which it makes it easier for them to understand the idea of continuing to be hopeful even when we feel like we are in a bad storm. Sorry, it's a bit cut off at the bottom there. If we put it all together, all these sentences together, we end up with a Texas paragraph. Your essays need to have at least 3 Texas paragraphs. You can have more, but you need at least 3 well-written ones. And I would prefer 3 well-written ones than more paragraphs that are not written as well. So concentrate on writing good Texas paragraphs before you move on to writing more than 3. After you've written your 3 paragraphs, you move on to the conclusion, or the LATE conclusion. LATE, as an acronym, helps you write a strong conclusion, which summarises the argument you've made throughout your essay and leaves a memorable last impression on the reader, who is most likely also your marker. The LATE conclusion has a link to the question, and which also links to the keywords because we drew them out of the question. It shows the author's purpose, it has a link to the theme, and it ends well. End your essay in a way that is memorable so that the last impression of your writing is a good one. Here's an example using our Emily Dickinson Hope is a Thing with Feathers example. By using language features such as metaphor, alliteration and imagery, Emily Dickinson helps the reader to understand the important idea that it is hope that helps people to face challenging situations. The clever use of these language features remind us of the enormous power of hope and that the reader should never give up even when it seems that there is no hope. The reader is reminded that if tiny birds can survive terrible storms, humans can survive metaphorical ones. So we have a link to the question and the keywords because we have language features, an important idea, and what the idea is, that hope helps people face challenging situations. This is really also the author's purpose, that the author wanted to remind the reader never to give up even when it seems that there's no hope. And this conclusion is ended well in that it's quite clever. The reader is reminded that if tiny birds can survive terrible storms, humans can survive metaphorical ones. So your job now is to go away and write your essays for the WAVE project, and if you get stuck, feel free to come and ask me any questions about this presentation about essay writing. Don't forget that you already have a handout on writing Texas paragraphs, and you can use this presentation for the TACO introductions and the LATE conclusions. And I'm really looking forward to reading your essays from the WAVE project.